Hey, Momentum listeners. The episode you're about to listen to was recorded on September 24th. As you know, our work is constantly moving with the news cycle, so the production of this episode was a little delayed. In the midst of everything happening in our nation as we head towards the November 2020 elections, as you'll hear in this episode, it is important to continue centering justice and racial equity and all of the intersections therein in all of the issues that we're fighting for. Enjoy the episode.
I'm Hiba Elias.
And I'm Chevon Drew.
And welcome to Momentum, a Race Forward podcast, where we explore how racial justice work
is showing up everywhere around us.
Chevon.
Hi, Hiba.
Welcome back to another episode of Momentum.
Yes. What's been going on, Hiba?
Everything and then some. I don't even know where to start, to be honest with you, but I will say that Facing Race is picking up and we are getting closer and closer to the event. We are officially 5 weeks away. Facing Race will be taking place November 10th to the 12th. There are a few things that I want to give updates about. The schedule at a glance is finally up on our Facing Race website. I know there have been a lot of inquiries within our inboxes and, our social media asking about the schedule for the conference. It is officially up, but please note that it is only a schedule at a glance. We have not included full details in regards to the schedule. That is forthcoming when we put up the program. I'm very excited about this. You guys are actually going to get some insight on what we've been working on to kind of push y'all to register and join us in the virtual realm, right? This is going to be our first time hosting Facing Race in a virtual space, and I'm super, super ecstatic. We also have group sales still happening. Group sales are for anyone that is a part of a company, organization, a group that would like to bring 5 or more members to the conference. We have special deals happening for you all. Please reach out to us at facingrace@raceforward.org or hit up our Facing Race website and fill out the form that we have attached there. And we will be more than happy to connect you to help y'all get registered for the conference. And then last but not least, Chevon, we have the vendors and exhibitors. And in this portion specifically, we're allotting for Black-owned businesses and POC-owned businesses to come join us at the conference to showcase their businesses, their art, whatever it is that they're selling, whatever it is that they want to share. We have an opportunity for you to join us. So please check out the Facing Race website. All the information is up there. If you have any specific questions in regards to, don't be afraid to hit us up. I or a member of the Facing Race team are willing to talk to you directly to kind of get you set up and join us in November. So those are the updates for Facing Race.
Awesome. Thank you. Now that everyone's caught up with Facing Race info, can you tell me, what were you thinking when you first saw that RBG passed away?
Because I am knee deep in planning the Facing Race conference, I don't have much time to watch the news. So I actually got the news from some of our colleagues on our Slack channel. And when I got the news, I was kind of struck by surprise, very sad, but also in this weird space. She's a phenomenal woman. She was an American jurist who served as an associate justice of the Supreme Court. For anyone that does not know, I know we have a lot of audience members that are young. So I was really sad to hear the news, but also I'm a person that knows that not everyone's time is guaranteed on this earth. So I was sending her blessings, but also sitting with thoughts of her time served in the Supreme Court. Kind of tapped online very quickly just to kind of get thoughts and feels. I feel like a lot of folks, they're mourning her loss, but also a lot of people are sitting with reopened wounds, right? Because of her history in the Supreme Court and a lot of decisions that she's made in the past. She's been in position since 1993. So that's a long time running and a lot of time for her to, do some things right and do some things wrong. But I feel like with her death, it's reopened a lot of wounds for a lot of people, especially communities of color. So I've just been sitting in solidarity with those folks that are feeling their feels. I personally would love to thank her for her dedication and her stance in women's rights and equal opportunities. But yeah, how are you feeling?
I mean, definitely this is a loss. We took a loss. I also, on a lighter note, I really enjoyed kind of just taking looks at like her workout routines and stuff, like those photos. Honestly, I loved to see that. My grandfather used to do that type of thing, like at a certain hour of the day in the morning, he'd get up immediately and there was a certain workout he would do, and it would be like that every day for like a long time. So I love that idea of the longevity piece, and it's a little bit of humor around that. But I agree, people are complex. And if you have a position as part of a system that is pressing a lot of different groups, I would imagine that there will be times that you'll actively be a part of that system. And even if you're inactively a part of it, you're a part of it, right? So when we choose to participate in systems, it doesn't mean that it makes the system perfect, but it means that some people choose to participate because they think they can bring something to it. That doesn't make it perfect, though. And so for me, I know some people felt like no one should say anything that isn't glowing. I'm really not thinking that way. I think it's okay for people to mourn and for other people to also talk about the wounded parts of them that are kind of like hurting right now based on the way that Supreme Court justices can uphold, colonization, oppression, all of that. And I think it's a time that folks can educate themselves on the complexities of what it means to be a woman serving on the Supreme Court, and on the complexities of what it means that a president can nominate someone for this, you know what I mean? Or that you didn't pick those people. You, whether you're a person who's saying, don't say anything that's not positively glowing about RBG, or whether you're a person who's saying, here's how RBG's history and policies have hurt my community, neither one of y'all chose RBG. And I think it's a good time for us to sit and think about what that means, that the people who get to make decisions in such high places about the rights of people of color, of reproductive rights, and all of these things, we have accepted, some of us, that this is what it is. And maybe it's a time for us to start sharing and looking around and thinking more about what other people are dreaming up in terms of how justice could look. Because that's a lot of power for just a few people that I didn't really have a say in who they are. So, I think we can definitely be grateful for someone's legacy and appreciative, and also give people their space to have their own thoughts. I'm really fine with that. And I hope that folks who were observing Rosh Hashanah at that time, I hope that, y'all had some comfort. It's a new year. I think it happened on that day. So I just hope that folks of all backgrounds right now, people of color, find a way to hold yourself and hold your community, no matter what your response to this was, because either way, you're going to need to hold yourself a little bit and come back, and let's come back ready to continue this fight that we're in.
100%. Take this time to recharge and love upon one another, right? So yeah, it's necessary. It's definitely necessary. I kind of want to shift gears a little bit too, because this has been on my mind since the news emerged yesterday. And, a lot of our colleagues have been hitting me in the pocket, really expressing that they're having a tough day, right? They're feeling kind of clouded and their emotions are kind of up and down, right? Kind of losing out on hope. Right? Regardless of the fact that if we work for a racial justice organization or not, we are human and our feelings do count, and our emotions take over us some days. But this day in particular is really, really a very sad day. Yesterday was I can't even fix my mouth or my emotions to say this, but yesterday was, the grand jury made a final decision on Breonna Taylor's killers. I'm just going to name them as killers. I'm not going to title them as anything else, because in my mind and in my perspective, that's what they are.
Yeah, I know that this is really tough. So I'm going to read a little bit from Colorline. So Louisville, Kentucky paid Breonna Taylor's family $12 million to settle a wrongful death suit. The news came down that no one apparently did anything wrong to cause her death, which is pretty confusing. It's pretty confusing to say that out loud. It doesn't seem to make sense, but what I've come to understand, there are brilliant attorneys that understand this way better than I, but that, laws that were created by oppressors, they're not going to necessarily serve any justice to the oppressed, right? So the letter of the law, the way the laws were written, some of the laws that we go by were never meant to bring justice to a woman like Breonna Taylor. And that's, I think, a tough piece to really sit with, because as much as it means we need to reimagine something else, which people do, there are so many people doing that work every day in different ways, it doesn't make it easier to say what I just said and to sit with it. It doesn't make it easier to accept it when you're watching it happen over and over again. And then it's like, well, let's get back to work. You know what I mean? Like, that's what a lot of Black people have been doing for a lot of time in this country. And we all know that there is a cost to it. There's a cost to the way that we keep going, and whether it's a cost to emotional health, mental health, or even the way we treat each other with that pent up type of like feeling, to devalue a people by letter of law, by outcome of these types of decisions, and by even the murder itself, by the economic conditions, by the health conditions that we've already observed, who is most and greatly affected under the pandemic. Like, to continuously devalue a group of people this way, it has a toll. So it's been a difficult day. You asked for facts, and I gave you a lot of facts, and I gave you some thoughts.
No, I love it. The most disrespected person is still the Black woman in 2020. This decision, this grand jury decision, confirms that, right? Someone who is peacefully sleeping in the comfort of their own home, having no harm to anyone around them, gets killed. Literally, her killers walk away. And to me, I don't know what it will take, but I know that in this moment, we do have to stand together and keep hope alive, right? Like, it's cliche to say, but it's really true, right? It's a tiresome fight, but I know, something good will come. I just want to send love to Breonna Taylor's family. I want to send love to the community that's out there on the grounds as we speak right now, that are risking their own lives and their own freedom to make sure that, justice is served even after this decision, right?
I'm going to read the facts that you asked me for that I was unable to give that explicitly at the moment, but I'll give it. Following a 4-month investigation into Breonna Taylor's death, Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron announced at a press conference that a Kentucky grand jury had determined that, quote, 2 officers involved in the death of Breonna Taylor were justified in firing their weapons into her apartment, while another was charged with recklessly firing rounds that endangered people in a neighboring unit, unquote.
I'm also sitting with some other feels too. Like, this story just has me in my feelings because I see myself in Breonna Taylor, right? I see myself in
Don't you?
I see myself in my own home and it happening to me, right? I see it happening to my girlfriends. I see it happening to my cousins and even my own mother. You get what I mean? So this hits close to home for me because that easily could have been me. I'm also sitting with some feels. This happened in March, right? And we are now in September. I'm just thinking from the time span that it happened to now, like, this woman was used for everything, right? She was used to promote everything. She was used to make people look good, socially conscious. She was used to promote parties. She was used for memes. She was used as an example. And even with all of that, she didn't get the one thing that she deserved, which was justice. So this is something that sits with me day in and day out, to be honest with you. I'm fueled with anger, but like I said earlier, like, I'm trying to keep hope alive, and I'm praying that everybody that's listening and that are sitting with their feels are doing the same. The fight is not over even after they declared this decision, right? It's not over.
And it's not new.
Right. It's not new. And I want to put emphasis on that.
Yes. It makes me think of Ayanna Stanley Jones too, was sleeping in her home on the east side of Detroit on the night of May 16th, 2010, when officers barged into the house conducting a police raid that was being filmed for a reality TV show in the process, when Officer Joseph Weekly accidentally fired a gun, and so he said, and shot and killed Ayanna Stanley Jones, 7 years old. So when I tell you this idea that Black people are not safe in their own home, and that no one's responsible, and that Black people somehow killed themselves or caused their own deaths, and that somehow we can commoditize it, sloganize it, and all of the things that no one would have done in the broader community to put Breonna Taylor up front, keeping in mind she was a frontline worker during this time. Those were the skill sets she was bringing to the table. I didn't see her getting on the cover of magazines for that. So it really...
Can we talk about it, please?
So I really want people to think about the extraction of Black communities, of just like, I'm sure she was amazing for a million reasons, but I just want people to think about what it means when you're using the image of someone who, as we said about Black women in this country, would have gone ignored otherwise in terms of what she may have achieved in life because of her class or race or gender or a combination, could have gone ignored. And I just want us to be really careful about how we treat the name of this young woman, the image of this young woman. And let's not give up. Let's have some respect as well, that we educate ourselves on what's really happening and what we can do in this broader fight for our human rights in this country as Black people, and make it more than a slogan for you in the privacy of whatever you would call it. I think my mama used to call it a prayer closet. What do you do when nobody's looking and you can't get attention for it? What action are you going to privately, quietly take to try to move forward? That's what I'm sitting sitting with and thinking about.
Yep, 100% agree. And I want to read one more thing from our loved Bree Newsom Bass, who has joined us at Past Facing Races as well. And it kind of stuck with me, and I kind of want to end it on this note before we transition into our very wonderful episode that we have planned for you all. And Bree tweeted this yesterday, and it says, "Our murders at the hands of police are legalized because we are Black. Period. The rest of it, trying to debate the circumstances and the law in individual cases like there's any consistency to it beyond racism, is granting the legal system more legitimacy than is warranted." And I would love just to, leave you guys with this tweet because it is real, it is thorough, and it is raw. And I have nothing more to say besides take care of yourselves.
Yes, indeed. And in service of, always sharing what we do have to offer, you can visit Color Lines. There's a piece that Kenria Rankin, who is an author, she wrote a really great piece called "There Is No Justice Here" on the topic of Breonna Taylor. So please go ahead and take a look at that and all of the coverage from our Color Lines team on the site. They are really, really dedicated to covering what's happening. So please do visit colorlines.com.
To transition us over to our very exciting episode. I don't sound excited because we just came off of the cusp of talking about our feels, but speaking of being in the comfort of your own home, the comfort of your own neighborhoods, this episode is dedicated to our guests that have created this phenomenal documentary that is now being showcased on HBO called Yusuf Hawkins' Storm Over Brooklyn.
Yes. So this feels personal. It's a New York story. It's a Brooklyn story. In some ways, our producer has asked me to share a little bit that the gentleman involved with this story, I do have a connection to somewhat that moved me even more to help produce this episode. And I want to say that it's a Brooklyn story, but it is an American story in the good ways and in the really terrible, violent ways that we just talked about regarding the Breonna Taylor story, the Ayanna Stanley Jones story, and so many others. So I want to thank my co-host Hiba and our producer for allowing me to co-produce this episode in terms of where we're going to take it next with our guests.
Ali Muhammad is an award-winning film director from Westchester County, New York. His past documentary films include the award-winning Life's Essentials by Ruby Dee. Muta Ali is determined that his artistic body of work be wholly focused on what he calls love, art, and activism. His latest film, Life's Essentials, with Ruby Dee, became Kickstart.com's 7th highest funded African-American related documentary in the world. From a deeply personal perspective, Muta Ali, grandson of New Rochelle natives Ruby Dee and Asi Dee, takes us on a journey through Davis's rich lives, guided by his unique cross-generational point of view. While on his personal quest to master lasting love, conscious art, and undying activism, Muta also examines his own path and questions his capacity for love and activism.
Victorious DaCosta is a producer and director known for Digging for Weldon Ravine, Love Seat, and Storm Over Brooklyn. He's a first-generation American. His family comes from Panama and Guyana, and he was born in Brooklyn. Victorious DaCosta, on mental wellness and telling the story of Weldon Ravine, said this was his first feature, and the film told the story of Weldon, who was an American composer, playwright, poet, activist, and mentor, who unfortunately committed suicide at only 59 years old. The documentary dealt with mental health, awareness, and suicide, which Victorious has personal connections to. Throughout the documentary, Victorious had to gain the trust of Weldon Ravine's family and friends so that they could film and talk about Weldon's life. Quote, "It was a wound I was opening up," unquote. And the film also took Victorious about 4 years to make.
Welcome, Muta Ali.
And welcome, Victorious.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us here.
Thank you.
The documentary Storm Over Brooklyn, which is the Yusuf Hawkins story that everyone is watching right now via HBO. My understanding about this is that really it's you two, and it's a total of 4 Black men who got together to make this happen. And I wonder if we could start out that way. If maybe you, Victorious, and Muta Ali, if you could both tell us who are those 4 people and maybe their role in this.
Yeah, Victorious, you could tell I know you called me, but the chain had already started before I was looped in.
Well, this one night I received an email actually through my Weldon Ravine website, and it was a one sentence. Sentence said, "I was told to contact you in regards to making a film." Straight cold email. And I called them, and his name was Charles Darby, and Charles was one of Yusef's childhood friends. Yusef only had childhood friends because he died as a child. And he wanted me to help him make that film. Right? He's not a filmmaker. He just had a dream, actually. And in the dream, Yusef said to him, "Don't forget me." I was working on Weldon, and I couldn't swing both films. And also, as you stated in my bio earlier, it would have been my first feature film, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to hack such a great undertaking for my first go at it as Yusuf Hawkins. And so I told Charles I'll stick around as a producer, and I'll help him find a team that could make it happen. And Muta Ali and I already had a working relationship. I thought about him as a producer and editor, and I hadn't even thought about him directing it, even though I saw his first feature, which was great. I'll let Muta Ali take it from here, from that phone call.
Yeah, and the feature that Victorious is referring to was Life Essentials with Ruby D, which you mentioned earlier. I created that alongside my producing partner, Chevon Frank. So you have Charles, Victorious, me, Muta Ali, and Chevon. So that's 4 of us.
I like this. The Avengers. I like this.
Avengers Assemble. Yep.
I'm really interested in knowing like the back end, how you guys got to partner up with actually HBO and how you got the story to actually land on the platform, because it's a huge platform. And I'm actually very excited that we have more Black documentaries and films that are being showcased on this platform, because it gives us an opportunity to learn more about what's happened in the past and what's continuously happening today, and how we can tie both worlds together, and what you actually told them in order for them to be like, hey, listen, we actually do want this on our platform, and we do want to showcase this, and we do want to spread the word.
You know, from my perspective, we joined together in around the spring of 2016, and the plan was for us to get this done hook or by crook. We're not gonna let anything stop us. We're not gonna wait for anybody. So the 4 of us did what you need to do in early stages, which is decide what the story is, created a synopsis, log line, treatment, put together a production package, which included reaching out to people who could serve as advisors. Early on, that was Kenneth Montgomery, an attorney in New York, and it was John DeSantis, the author of For the Color of His Skin, book that covers the murder of Yusuf Hawkins and New York at the time. With that, we scrapped together the money that we had, borrowed things from people, and got some equipment. Victorious and Chevon, and the 4 of us have relationships. So we started shooting some of the early interviews with Reverend Sharpton, C. Vernon Mason. And then we started shooting actually with Yusuf's family, Ms. Hawkins and Freddie. With that, we put together a sizzle video, about 4 minutes long. There was archival that we grabbed online, put all that together, 4-minute sizzle video. And we were ready to go to solicit funds and everything. It took a while though. A year and a half later, summer 2017, somebody emailed me an alert about the initiative that the American Black Film Festival was doing with Lightbox Entertainment. So ABFF is one of the longest running, or if not the longest running, African American film festival. And Lightbox is a critically acclaimed, award-winning documentary production studio. And luckily, we applied the day I got it, or the day of the deadline, right? And the only way we were able to is because we did all that groundwork. We were ready to go. And out of over 300 people, we were selected. And we won that initiative. And that didn't bring us the budget. That got us a little bit of funding so that we could enhance the sizzle video. And it did partner us with Lightbox and ABFF. And all together as an even larger group than the 4 of us, we started pitching the project. Lightbox brought on board Oscar-winning directors. They served as executive producers, Dan and TJ. They brought on board the editor and other talented individuals, Ben Piner, the archivist. We started pitching, and I think with the HBO pitch, especially, they understood that this was more than a New York story. They understood the significance of what happened to Yusuf, and they got behind it. And HBO is well known for their fantastic documentaries. And once they got behind it, we were ready to go. We got the budget though in September 2018, and just kicked it into full gear then.
Yes, there were a lot of intimate moments in the documentary where Yusuf's mother and other family members are being interviewed. Can you talk about where some of these interviews were filmed, how that happened?
Victorious locked a lot of that. You want to talk about that?
So we filmed Miss Hawkins, Diane Hawkins, Yusuf's mother, twice actually, in her home, as we did shoot Amir, his brother, and Freddie, his other brother, at home. And a lot of the interview, well, I say maybe about 4 or 5 of the interviews were shot at my mother's house. My mother had a sizable place, and so we were able to turn the room around a few times, go to floor. So that pretty much is where everything was. We wanted to keep everybody comfortable. I think we did do the EMT who we see in the beginning of the film, Gerald Dickens. We did do him in like a studio, but as well as one of the detectives who did it at the studio. But I think that the family, we had everyone at a home environment, so they would feel like family. And Charles Darby, as I said, was one of Yusef's good friends, and he is family to the Hawkins family. So we had that family vibe. And by the time September 2018 came about, we already had a year and a half of bonding with the family. And so,
Amazing. I want to backtrack a little bit because I know many of our audience members may or may not know about the documentary, may or may not know Yusuf Hawkins' actual story and who he was. So I would love if one of you can give us a deep dive of who Yusuf Hawkins was and why you guys wanted to create this film.
I like that the skipper answered that one.
Yusuf Hawkins was a 16-year-old Black teenager, and this is 1989. He's a Black teenager living in Brooklyn and spending a lot of time in East New York, at his grandmother's house. And this becomes a story with a lot of drama and spectacle and heartbreak and trauma when the events that took place on August 23rd unfolded. He went with 3 friends to a different part of Brooklyn, a totally different part of Brooklyn, completely different than East New York, to look at a used car. The difference is in East New York, it's predominantly Black and Hispanic people, hardly any white people. And where they went to look at the car, it was the inverse, if you will. It was only pretty much white people, primarily Italians, and there were hardly any Black people. The place they went to is Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. They go that night to look at a used car. They get intercepted for reasons they have no idea why. And almost instantaneously, they're separated from one another by a mob of young Italian men with bats, golf clubs, and guns. Yusuf, out of the 4 of them, is pinned up against a wall and a doorway, actually a dark doorway. And before he's able to even explain why they're there or anything, he is shot twice in the heart, once in the hand and once in his shoulder. And he dies on the way to the hospital. So a lot of things took place to set the stage for that attack. A great deal of action, I guess you would say, took place afterward. And action, I mean the community not standing for that racial violence. Reverend Sharpton, who was involved, making sure that marches went straight through the heart of Bensonhurst consistently for a year and a half. And the Bensonhurst community, full of people who didn't want those Black people there, participated in what you might call counter-protesting, but I call it just additional racism, when they were harassing the Black people and other people who came down there to find justice for Yusuf. Justice meaning, they were surrounded by 30 people and 30 people were never arrested. At the end of the day, there's only one person in prison now for his involvement in Yusuf's killing, but no one is in prison for the murder of Yusuf Hawkins. So the story is about that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I was just going to add a note. When I was sitting and watching the film, I found it ironic because today, like a lot of people would tell you, like back in the day, walking through Brooklyn, like, white people couldn't walk through Brooklyn and, feel comfortable in the streets. And it was, this story actually shows otherwise, right? It shows the reverse, that Black people were actually unsafe in the Brooklyn streets. And that's not even being discussed or even touched upon in today's society or even within our community, right? So I just wanted to put emphasis on that and have people, really sit and ponder with that thought.
So I'm from New Rochelle out in Westchester, and Victorious is from Brooklyn, Chevon is from Brooklyn, and Charles is from Brooklyn. So Victorious could probably speak to that way more accurately.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that narrative is pushed a lot when people want to make the case that what happened to Yusef was somewhat fair, right? So if I came to Bed-Stuy, I mean, Billy Joel had a song, I might be crazy. He was saying that, I walked through Bed-Stuy in the middle of the night. I mean, that might have been the case in the 70s, perhaps, maybe, but the late 80s and early 90s, that definitely wasn't the case. And not to say that there are some fringe neighborhoods where there might have been some fighting between, let's say, at Bensonhurst and the Coney Island. Of course, there in the history of time, there have been Black men that might have robbed white men, but people like to push that. So as to say, this was just a casualty of the 80s, and probably that there's a case that we don't know about where maybe a 16-year-old Italian boy was killed in Brownsville. But so in the film, we show through Christopher Graham's testimony that this wasn't the case.
We also saw in the film how many Black people in various groups, from the Reverend Sharpton to Spike Lee to the Nation of Islam, were involved in supporting Yusef's family's demands for justice and all those marches for a year and a half and all of that. But it's really no joke to go back to a neighborhood like Bensonhurst, a neighborhood that had mob ties, to talk about this story and unearth this story. So when you went there, what was that like?
It was tense. When did we go out there the first time? Was that when we filmed Gerald Dickens, or did we go before that?
Right. I think we went there before then just to check out the area.
Yeah, so it was people staring. It's just weird. It's a weird vibe out there. I think the scariest time out there was that night. Those shots you see in the film at night. In the beginning, you see the basketball court, and that was like midnight/1 in the morning, and it was me and a different Gerald. He was on our production crew, and that was a little scary place to be, because you never know. You never know how people are gonna treat you, and it doesn't seem like justice gets served out here. So you could be Black in the wrong neighborhood doing nothing, and then all of a sudden you're the cause of a problem and you get killed, and then no one goes to jail. It was frightening out there a little bit. But
yeah, to that principle of the question is that no, it wasn't sweet, right? The only person that's not alive is Yusef. So people are still alive from that time. People still have their loyalties, and so we did, have to. I'd like to say it was courageous undertaking that sometimes. Right, just knowing whether we're in Bensonhurst or knowing that we're telling a story that not everyone is going to like, and knowing that the caliber of people that we're dealing with, it was tough, but we pressed on because we owed it to the family, ourselves, and the story.
I feel like you're getting into the connections to today, that it almost sounds like you knew that what happened then could happen again if you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, so to speak, on your own, trying to get these shots and things like that, almost like a nod to how things have not changed. Do y'all have more to say on that, the connection to today?
It's an easy connection. The Breonna Taylor situation is really upsetting me, and it's kind of in the back of my mind this whole time. So it's like, it's hard to articulate the connections to today, because I'm sure y'all understand already. There's a lot of connection to today. And Black people get killed. Justice is not served or semi-served at best. The connections to today are apparent in terms of the commentary from the people who we've interviewed during this film. Their prejudices that they have in the way that they say things as they try to even appear to be good voices in the film. Their prejudices that lead to things like this or contribute to things like this still exist within them, and they don't see things much differently. It's unfortunate, it's frustrating, and that was the thing that really drew me into knowing that this story needed to be told. Yes, because Yusuf's legacy needs to be remembered. Yes, Yusuf's family, I felt, deserved the opportunity to tell the story from their perspective. But also, a lot of us deserve the opportunity to have articulated for them the fact that we're still stuck in this mess. We're stuck in this frustration. And I think, though, the silver lining, though, that came through was witnessing that the marches that took place for a year and a half were effective because they disrupted cash flow in Bensonhurst. And that stayed with me, and I think it will continue to stay with me, that if we're persistent and we affect finances of the people who we need to disrupt, then we will be effective, because a lot of times in America, it's all about money. As much as it's all about race, the race, I think, issue grows out of people's greed in the first place. I hope people just get inspired by witnessing what the Hawkins family and Reverend Sharpton and Dr. Fulani and everybody did to get the amount of justice they got.
No, that was going to be my follow-up question. Basically, what are you guys hoping this film would do, right? Besides spread awareness, what is the goal and what is the hope and the aspiration that this film would do when people actually watch the film? And you kind of touched briefly on it, but I would love to hear more in depth if y'all can share.
One of the takeaways, especially in these times and, times of an election, just like Storm Over Brooklyn was, we look at the importance of coalition building, right? And coming together for one common cause. I think that's an important thing. And I think also, because Mutali said, this story will be relevant for a long time, until it's no longer relevant, right? And I think that it's important for us to look at the families, in a different light, right? The families are not robots, they are not hashtags. Often we are very critical of families, whether they forgave or didn't forgive. And, so I hope that people now look at the people who did get murdered on a personal level, and also to show that grace to the family and maybe look after the family. Because a lot of these families are not looked after. Not everybody won, a lawsuit, right? Some of these families are still living in the same poverty that they were in, and with even more despair. So that's important. But we are definitely activist filmmakers, but we have some tried and true activists that helped us out, like the Brooklyn Combine and Color of Change. They helped us out with resource guides and discussion guides that you can find on the HBO site that will point people towards critical analysis of the film and today. And, where can you go if you do feel like you have a lot of anger in you or energy in you after watching the film? Where can you go today to use that energy in a constructive manner? Even if you don't want to use your energy, there's still a discussion guide that you can go through that'll really pick apart the film and pick apart yourself as well, just to find out exactly where you stand in all these things.
I was just going to put emphasis on the self-care portion, because a lot of these films and documentaries that are released, they're heavy, right? But there's not a follow-up for the audience to kind of do a self-care process for themselves. So I'm really happy that you mentioned that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. And also, I'm sorry, I forgot really the Movement for Black Lives, which is a coalition, and as well as the People's Institute for Survival and Beyond. Film is just a tool, right? And so if you go to the HBO site and you watch the film, then we have the guides are kind of like the manual on how to use this tool.
Yes, and we would love to include those in the show notes. And maybe to wrap us up, Storm Over Brooklyn, the Yusuf Hawkins story, it's opening eyes, it's opening hearts and minds. Do you plan to keep using film to tell important stories?
Most definitely. Most definitely. I think it's a powerful medium. It helps motivate me to think that there's something important that we're doing, to think that it's necessary. I think that's the type of fuel that's the only fuel that I think that can get us through some of these tough moments, creatively, yeah, but also dealing with educating the people who we need to support us before these films come out, and so, yeah, I think filmmaking is one of the most powerful mediums out there. And I think it is incumbent upon us to use all we have and all the sensitivity we have and the power we have to be a voice. And hopefully that voice can be of service.
It's definitely a form of art that's been pushing the movement forward. So hats off to y'all. Are there any future projects that are in the works that you guys want to share with our audience members?
Hiba goes right to the point.
Listen.
Tell us. Spill the beans.
We got to put our people on.
I'm not sure when this is coming. Well, I can't share anything specifically, but there's something I'm working on right now. Nightline on ABC is doing a few special shorts this month and next month related to the diaspora. And I'm doing a 16-minute piece that's related to the disparities by race when it comes to infant mortality and maternal mortality. So I'm deep in that right now. That's another heart-wrenching subject also, but people could look out for that if they got ABC.
Do you want to tell us for all the listeners, we have funders who listen to this podcast. We have people who are sponsors. Film buffs. Sponsors, people who are film buffs. We have distributors. We have social justice minded people who are in all walks of life and all types of positions. What would you want to say to them in terms of where they can follow your work? Is it social media? Do you want to shout out handles, websites? What is it?
And if you got money to give, just find me. I got things to do with it. I mean, it's no joke. It's really not a joke. It's a weird space to be where you've done something that people are appreciating, and you're still, I'm going to keep it real. Like, you still got to do things to pay your bill. And if you're not going to compromise your integrity, you might have to wait a little bit before you jump onto the next project. So money helps, money helps. And then there's a lot of projects that people might not know how to get off the ground. And I think what Victorious knows and what I know and what Chevon knows and what Charles is getting into right now, if you're not sure how to get your project going, but you have some funding, I think come our way, because it's not a situation where we can afford to hoard the game. You know what I'm saying? I think the more of us who know how to tell stories, the better. So yeah, money is fantastic. But also, if you have something fantastic to show and you need to get it out there that you're working on, then I'm available. Victorious, I know you out there.
Yeah, so I was going to say, definitely, if you want to follow the film, Storm Over Brooklyn is on Instagram, and that's also the website, stormoverbrooklyn.com. And I often see Muta Ali on Muta Ali, Twitter and Instagram, and I'll spell that for him. It's Mutaali. And Victorious, because sometimes there's not enough O's in Victorious, but Victorious is Victorious, and my last name is DeCosta, Decosta. I hate to say, like, Google. So like you can ask Jeeves my name and things will pop up, but you also find me on Instagram. Like Mutalib says, we have tons of stories and not enough time. We're also, looking for other filmmakers to partner with and obviously distributors. And it's people who feel like they have a story that needs to be told. You can definitely hit us up and watch the film. Watch it a couple times.
Like I did. Thank y'all so much. Thank y'all so much.
Oh, you know what? One more thing. Thank you. I'm sure you have international listeners too. So ring the bell internationally so we can get the film out there to you too.
Ask for the film internationally. Yes.
Hiba, we're getting exclusives. They're looking for international distribution. It feels like an exclusive to me. I'm going to call it one. Everybody listening.
We're going to put that out in the universe. Yes.
Yes. If you're in the UK, if you're in France, ask to see the film.
Well, we just want to give y'all another thank you for joining us today and sharing this wonderful content with us. Looking forward to having future conversations because I know there will definitely be more projects coming down that we would love to share with our audience members.
Yes,
so
looking forward to it.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, y'all.
That interview was deep and I think really superbly executed. Hiba, I want to thank you, co-host. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. I'm definitely excited about this episode. I love that we're able to share this type of content with our audience. So I'm hoping that you guys watch the documentary and enjoy it just as much as we did.
Yes, and I'm ready to talk about some of the announcements we have. So, dear audience, first up, Facing Race, our conference.
Yes, and I see that you got our Facing Race t-shirt on. I see you. 2018 swag tee. Yes.
Yes, I do. Yes. Hugging all the curves. Yes. I just had to represent a little bit.
Shout outs to our graphic designer, Erin, who designed that t-shirt. It's amazing. Chevon is rocking it right now. Just love it.
Thank you. And thank you, Erin, for my shirt.
And just another heads up, y'all. Facing Race will be taking place November 10th to the 12th. Please check out the Facing Race website at facingrace.raceforward.org for all the information that you need to get registered and participate at the virtual conference. And I'm hoping that we see you guys there. Also, we have added several building racial equity trainings until the end of the year. How great is that? The BREs were selling out like hotcakes this year. So the training team have been graciously able to add additional dates until the end of the year. So please check out our website and I'll pass it to Chevon so you can get in tune on where to find that information and how to rate and subscribe to our Momentum podcast.
Please visit raceforward.org/trainings. Visit raceforward.org/trainings with an S. I really also want folks to know that the time has come for us to close, and we want you to please visit us and stream the podcast everywhere that we have it available. Visit us on Apple Podcasts to subscribe. You can also subscribe on Spotify, Google Play, Pandora. We hope that when you visit, you will also leave us a really great, encouraging rating and review. We appreciate you as listeners, and every time you give us those kudos, you help us reach more people with all of these great guests and messages and tools and stories about racial justice.
Yes, Chevon, thank you.
Hiba, we have come to a close, and how can we leave listeners with some encouraging words in a time that sometimes feels really deeply trying and challenging?
I always say that everyone copes differently in these times. So I like to give folks the opportunity to find whatever it is that brings them joy during this time and to do that, right? Whether it's spending time with your family and loved ones, whether it's taking a walk, whether it's disconnecting, right? Because this information and this movement does come with weight. So taking care of yourself always during times like this is essential. So please do that. And I just want to say that I love all of you guys very much, and I pray that you guys continuously spread love amongst one another and just regroup as much as you can. What about you, Chevon? What words would you leave the people?
That's a very good question. I'm going to show you. Can you see what I walked away and got?
Did you get your bike?
Yeah. So I'm going to suggest, that full. Okay. So I'm holding up right now a bike that is hot pink.
Yes, colors.
And neon yellow. And I'm showing Hiba my hot pink and yellow bike right now because I think that getting a little bit of activity in has helped me sometimes where the moment has felt real heavy and then the breeze on my face when I'm riding or taking a walk or anything like that has helped. And if you are in an area of the country where the air is not currently allowing you to get out, I hope that there is another way that you can find to move yourself in any way that you can. So yes, not to be ableist per se, but to say that if you can find a way to get some type of activity in to help your body release some tension. I don't care if that's reading a book, taking a walk, whatever it is, make a cup of tea and sit with it if that's what could help you. Please listen to your bodies. I'm going to listen to mine after this. And
Yes.
I hope that will bring you some comfort when you listen to your body and see maybe what it needs from you in these moments.
Yes. Thank you for sharing, Chevon. And thank you guys for listening.